Afternoon, Omaha Mayor Jean Stothert gave her 11th State of the City address as she seeks a fourth term.
6 News' John Chapman attended today's address and highlights her vision for the city moving forward.
Omaha Mayor Jean Stothert began her State of the City address talking about work left behind from tornadoes that tore through the metro.
Working with federal, state, and local partners, the city will continue to support our recovery process to make it as easy and as safe as possible for the families to rebuild their homes and also their lives.
The mayor praised the Omaha Police Department for saving lives and solving crime. Stothert says there are 796 Omaha police officers, well below the authorized number of 906. Even with the shortage of officers, the mayor says last year crime in the city was down 14% from 2022.
In August, a recruit class will begin training, followed by 2 more classes in 2025. By the end of next year, we strongly believe that we will be back at full strength. We will also have a firefighter class this fall. The recent recruiting campaign was very successful, and we received 849 applications. We are budgeted for 669 firefighters, and today we have 652.
Mayor Stothert says she continues to work to reduce property taxes in the city, touting her 5th levy reduction, bringing the city's property tax levy to its lowest rate in 14 years.
I do understand that these strong steps are not enough to lower the total property tax bill for most homeowners because property valuations increases are so significant. I will continue to challenge all other taxing entities to reduce their levies and work with the governor and the legislature to identify solutions that are fair to the taxpayers and to local governments and to all the taxing entities.
The mayor also talked about the city streetcar project and how it is already attracting new development.
By the end of this year, more than $1.3 billion in new development will be underway along the streetcar corridor, outpacing the projections that we had and funding the streetcar exactly as we had planned. The taxpayers will not pay for the streetcar, and it will not put the city in debt.
The mayor also addressed continuing issues the city is dealing with. Potholes have always been an issue, even with the mayor's street preservation fund.
In 2020, the voters approved a $200 million bond issue that created the Street Preservation Fund. Since then, we have repaired over 800 miles of road, and we're doing this without increasing taxes. In 2025, we will increase our street resurfacing budget again.
The city's homeless are becoming more and more visible. The mayor hired a homeless services coordinator to deal with the issue, but still we see encampments and people living in tents on city streets.
I do share the public's concerns about encampments on private and public property. Our new strategy to vacate encampments and litter will address these concerns. In the first 2 weeks since the City Council approved our proposal to hire contractors for this work, 5 encampment sites have already been cleared. No one should be homeless.
Overall, Mayor Stothert is excited about the city's momentum she hopes will continue through another term in office. On your side in Omaha, I'm John Chapman, 6 News.
6 of the 7 Omaha City Council members were in attendance for the mayor's address this afternoon. City Council President Pete Festersen says he would like to hear more details about the city's Affordable Housing Action Plan and the city's Climate Action Plan. Festersen agrees with the mayor that there is a lot going on in certain parts of Omaha, but he hopes all areas of the city can share in the current wave of momentum.
A lot of positive things happening downtown. We just need to make sure that all the city enjoys those reinvestments and that we make sure we're taking care of our neighborhoods too.
Festersen says affordable housing and protecting the climate mean a lot to our neighborhoods, and he hopes the 2 topics are a priority next year.